Hello everyone. So basically I've been receiving this question a little too often now that can a non-finance student, a non-commerce student, an engineer be able to crack a CFA exam or an FRM exam, or is finance the right option for him or her? So I just want to discuss this very quickly with you all. So basically first question is the doability. So is it possible? And of course it is. And with what effort can a non-finance, non-commerce student appear for, or an engineer crack a finance exam like a CFA or an FRM? The second question is, why would you want to do it? Why would you want to study finance? Why would an engineer or a non-commerce student want to study finance? The third one is just a few examples, of work profiles and all, where you could combine the knowledge of both. And lastly, I would discuss CFA versus FRM. CFA versus FRM in terms of as an engineer, as a non-commerce student. So very quickly, let's just begin. When I'm talking about the doability part, the idea is that one, finance and commerce is not the same thing. When I'm talking about finance, it's a separate subject altogether. When I'm talking about commerce, it's relatively separate. When I'm talking about commerce, I can talk about accounts as to how you prepare the financial statements, record your incomes and expenses and all. I can talk about taxation. So you have different kinds of taxes, income taxes, taxes on goods and services. I can talk about law. I can talk about costing. I can talk about various other things as well. Finance is one such area that you can discuss. So finance in itself is an absolutely different and is an absolutely different stream altogether. Of course, it is an extension of commerce, you can say so, or a specialized area of commerce, if you may call it. But then when I'm looking at it from a very, very, from a very, very detailed angle, finance and commerce is separate. Now what happens is, when you're looking at finance itself has got like 10, 12, 15 subjects or so. You have equity valuations, you have fixed income valuations, you have alternate investments, you have risk management, you have derivatives, you have a lot of subjects. I'll not get into the detailed explanation of each and every single subject of those. I'll guide you how to get an understanding of what finance is all about. But the idea is that when I'm looking at a particular question for engineers and non-commerce students, whether finance is a career stream for them. Now what happens is, if there's an eco-honors subject student, if an eco-honors student is attempting finance, he will of course find the subjects economics and a part of quants, that is dealing with statistics and all, relatively easy, because he has done that in his graduation, or he's doing it in his graduation course. When I'm looking at a commerce student, he will have an understanding, he will have an advantage when he's looking at, say for example, balance sheet, or understanding terms like what is an income, what is an expense, what is an asset, what is a liability. So in those kind of terms, he's going to be relatively more easy for him to understand these terms and all. When I'm looking at an engineering student, he's going to be having an edge when I'm talking about quants. So his numericals, his number crunching is going to be relatively strong, because you've studied that as an engineer, as a non-commerce student. Topics like probability, compounding interest and all. I was just interacting with one of the students, and they said that game theory and all is also taught to engineering students. So when you're looking at anyways the topics, normal distributions and calculations around skewness, kurtosis and all. Not that a lot of detailed part is there in quants, regression and time series analysis and all, but still a decent chunk of quants is also there. So you have an edge over there. So when you're looking at a commerce student, he'll have to probably put in, if his maths is not good, it's wrong to assume that a commerce student is bad at mathematics, but in case his quants is not strong, he'll have to put in a little extra effort there. Economics student might have an edge in one subject, economics, and might have to put in a little extra effort when you're looking at financial reporting analysis. When I'm looking at a non-commerce student, then he'll have to put in a little extra effort in terms of understanding what is financial statement. Now you don't have to make accounts, you don't have to do anything with respect to taxation or laws or law or costing or anything, but a basic understanding of what is an income, what is expense, what is asset, what is liability. So very basic idea. You don't have to make accounts. But if a company's financial statement is presented, a company's annual report is given, a financials of a company is given, you should be able to understand it. So the one thing is clear, that you don't have to worry about the fact that you're not a commerce student and therefore you cannot do finance, because finance is a very specialized area of commerce, if you can call it, or an extension of commerce, or you can say commerce is separate and finance is separate. So we don't have taxation, laws, costing, accounting and all in finance. But yes, you need to be able to read financial reports. So that level, that very basic level of understanding is needed, which anyways, even whether you're doing a CFA or a FRM or whatever you're doing, that basic understanding is given to you from the very, very beginning, from the very, very nascent stage. So you don't have to worry about it as such. Everybody will have their edge in their different areas. So as I told you, e-commerce, commerce, non-commerce, etc. So that is one. The doability part is pretty much okay. You do not need to worry about it. This is fine. Now the second thing is, why would you want to get into finance? What is the advantage of getting into a finance designation, learning finance? See, one is, I just heard from someone that the way to a boardroom is through finance. Now the idea is, like say for example, even if you're planning to do an MBA, we see a good chunk, good proportion of engineers and all are occupying are in a B school. So you are making a shift towards business administration, and if you want to get into a finance specialization, so the amount of finance that is covered in, say for example, in a MBA college would not be as much as it is going to be covered when you're getting a proper specialized area of finance knowledge. So if you're planning to do an MBA, I know it's, I've seen it becomes a little difficult for engineers to cope, with the speed and with the amount of things, because you have HR, admin, etc., finance, marketing, etc. to study. So it becomes relatively very advantageous to know finance and to have a good background of finance before entering. That is one. Two, if you want to enhance your career in a more leadership roles in your company, that is two. When you're looking at even about personal finance, your financial planning and all, it helps. I would not say that, you should do a course just because you want to do your personal finance. I'm just giving you an idea, because you can hire a wealth manager and get that done. It's a good idea if you're beginning any college, or if you're getting into a job in the finance area. I'll come to the different jobs and all where, engineers would need financial skills in order to perform well. So if you're getting into a job related to finance or a B school and all, then in that case it helps a lot. If you are planning a startup or something of your own, your financial decision making, your planning, your forecasting and all, it's going to at least give you a very good idea as to how to go about it, understanding the terms and all, so that you're not fooled, you're at least taking good decisions. So in all these areas, I would say that you can think about planning finance, and most importantly, if you're planning to get into a career of finance. So the most important reason out of all this, startups and personal finance and all, I understand, but the most important reason is if you're venturing into a career of finance, if you want to get into a career in finance, then it is meant for you. The next thing is when I'm looking at the examples. So now when I'm looking at multiple options, say for example, I'll give you a few popular names if I may. Kunal Shah, so youngest partner in Goldman Sachs, and he was a maths honors guy. And because of his number crunching, he got into it, and he's into more of technical trades and all. Just to give an idea, so when you're doing technical analysis and all, Fibonacci numbers and all those are also used in order to do that. Although CFA is not about technicals or neither FRM, but you need to have a good idea about finance in general in order to get into the stream, because there are a lot of other factors which matter. A very small part of technical analysis is there in CFA. Another example, just recently, General Motors' first female CFO, that is Divya Suryadevra. So she is also a CFA charter holder. When you're looking at, say for example, Rahul Dheer, if I can recall, since I worked in Cairn India earlier. So he was the CEO of Cairn India before he moved out, and he was a petroleum engineer if I'm not wrong, and then he went on to study finance before he was the CEO of an oil and natural gas company. There are people who try to combine their computer knowledge and their programming skills with softwares and platforms and all into finance. So that I have seen. Financial engineering goes on. So it's more about how you innovate. Financial engineering has got nothing to do with engineering, just to clarify. So there's a lot of there are ways in which you can innovate. So it's about your application in that area. There was another person I was talking to. There was this doctor who went on to study finance because he was an analyst in the pharma sector. So he was a very senior level analyst in the pharma sector. So he understands the sector very well. So even Rahul Dheer, I think he was analyzing, he was in an investment bank also in between, he was analyzing the oil and gas sector. So basically the idea is you can combine your technical knowledge and your finance knowledge in order to get into more of a business understanding, if you want to get more of a business understanding. So these are a few examples. I think I've given you a few. Yeah, so a few examples where you can see how the two integrate together. And coming to my last bit, CFA versus FRM. So when I'm talking about CFA, I'm talking about finance in general, and when I'm talking about FRM, I'm talking about finance specializing in risk management domain. So when you're looking at a career broadly into finance area, you should look at CFA. If you're looking at a career wherein you're probably into bank or IT risks and risk management, or you're a derivative trader and your profile is related to compliances, internal controls, risk and fintech or something of that sort, in that case you could be looking at an FRM. If you're looking at finance in general, equity analyst, portfolio manager, treasury, investor, bonds analyst, trader, etc., you could be looking at more of a CFA designation. But before you enter and take a hasty decision, my sincere request and advice to you would be that we've got the introduction playlist of CFA and FRM on YouTube. So there is a syllabus portion and there is a scope portion. So what is the scope of each of the designations? CFA separately and FRM there's another playlist. What is the syllabus of each? So I've explained the syllabus in an hour or so, and also the exam and preparation and all the other portions are covered. So at least the syllabus and scope for sure, and even the exam and preparation, if you're scared about how to go about it, my advice would be that you take an informed decision. Before you put in so much money, before you put in so much of time and effort and everything, I think it's much better to take an informed decision. But all said and done, if you are making a career, if you're planning to make a career in finance, CFA, FRM, they are the most coveted designations in finance across the globe. So all the very best, and yeah, the details are given. So if you have any query, you can ping us and would be happy to help. Thank you.